Hi you guys, today's lesson is on solving inequalities, and when I get back on Thursday I will be checking in to make sure you got these notes done so that I can assign your classwork for today. So make sure that you're paying attention, that you're copying down all of your notes. You will be accountable for doing them, and then also you really need to know this information so that you can complete the practice assignment that you're going to have once this video is done. Okay, so for the last few weeks we've been working on learning how to solve equations. An equation uses an equal sign to show that both sides are equal. When we solve an equation, there are three possibilities of solutions. You can have one solution, you can have no solution, or all real numbers will be a solution. Okay. An inequality shows that both sides may not be equal. And when you solve an inequality, there are multiple solutions to an inequality. So the way that we show solutions when we're solving inequalities is we do that using a graph on a number line. Okay? And we're going to come back to this in just a second. Now, the symbols, the inequality symbols look like this. If x is greater than 5, we would use the greater than symbol, okay? If x is greater than or equal to 5, this is, right here, x is greater than or equal to 5, this is the greater than or equal to symbol. So that means the x can be a 5 or any number bigger than 5. If it's x is less than 5, we use the less than symbol. And if x is less than or equal to 5, we use the less than or equal to symbol. Okay? So when we figure out our possible solutions for our inequality, we would put the 5 on the graph, and we know that any numbers that are bigger than 5 would be a solution. And so instead of writing those all out, we would say, okay, I know 5 is not a solution, but any number bigger than that is a solution. We know that 6 is greater than 5, 7 is greater than 5, 8 is greater than 5. Any number to the right of 5 on the number line gives us a solution. So this is how we show our solutions. Okay, we do a graph. If we have x is greater than or equal to 5, the thing that changes here is 5 is now included as part of our solution set. So x can be 5, or it can be anything greater than 5. So anytime your inequality includes the equal to part, it's going to be a closed circle. If it's x is less than 5, well, if this is 5 on the number line, the solution to this inequality would be any number that is smaller than 5. So this would be how we represent our solution. And then x is less than or equal to 5. The thing that changes here is we would have to do a closed circle on the 5 because 5 would be included. Remember, anytime there is the equal to part, then you're going to have a closed circle, and then we would shade to the left. Okay. So an inequality symbol is used to make mathematical statements true. So 4 is less than 9. That's the inequality symbol we would use. 0.5 is greater than 0.45. Even though this one has 2 digits and this one only has 1 digit, when we talk about which number is bigger, we want to compare by place value, and 5/10 is bigger than 4/10. So 0.5 is bigger than 0.45. When we talk about negative numbers, remember the further to the left on the number line, the smaller the number. So -2 is a bigger number than -3. So we would say -3 is less than -2. And then for this one, our tenths place is 0 and our tenths place is 4. And so 1.04 is less than 1.4. Okay. Another thing we need to talk about when we are working with inequalities is you're always going to use the variable as the starting point when reading an inequality statement. So when you solve an inequality and you end up with something like this, you want to rewrite it so that your variable is written first. Now be very careful when you rewrite this, because this has to match what this says. This says that the x is greater than or equal to 6. So when you rewrite that, you have to make sure that the x is on the greater than or equal to side. And then the last thing we need to talk about for this slide is you can substitute a value in to see if it makes the inequality true or not. And if it does, it's part of the solution set. So if I substitute 5 in for the x, 5 plus 6 is 11. 11 is not greater than 11. So we would say no, 5 is not a solution. Now, if I change this to say x plus 6 is greater than or equal to 11, we would then say yes, it's a solution. Now, in your notes, I want you to just skip through this next part just because I think this is something that you guys probably already did last year when you were in 7th grade. In fact, I know you did. Okay, and then let's just talk about the graphs. I think this is the trickiest part about solving inequalities, is doing your graph correct. So if you have x is greater than or equal to 2, the way that you are going to show your solution is by using a graph. And you would go to 2 on your number line. If it's x is greater than or equal to 2, we would have to do a closed circle on the 2 because 2 is included in our solution. And then any number that is bigger than 2 would also be included as part of our solution set. So this is our solution set right here. That's why we do a graph, because there's an infinite number of numbers that would make this true, and we wouldn't want to have to spend the time to write them all out. Okay, so, oh, I messed that up. I just did greater than or equal to here. Okay, so let's do greater than here. So if it's greater than or equal to, it's a closed circle. If it's just a greater than, then it's going to be an open circle. Okay, because 2 is not included, and then it would be all of the numbers to the right. If we have x is less than 6, we would have 6 on our number line, we would have an open circle, and all of the numbers that are less than 6 are to the left of 6 on the number line. And then if x is less than or equal to 10, this one's going to have a closed circle, and we would graph all of the numbers to the left of 10 on the number line. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and do the next part, which is solving inequalities. Okay, so skip in your notes to this part that says inequalities can be solved by following the same steps as equations. So when you're solving an inequality, when you're trying to figure out what values of the variable will make the inequality true, the variable must be alone or isolated on one side of the inequality. That's how you solve it. You isolate the variable by using inverse or opposite operations. Whatever you do on one side, you must do to the other. Okay, so the steps for solving an inequality are just like the steps for solving an equation. Once you have simplified the left side, okay, so you can distribute combined like terms. Then you simplify the right side. Then you collect the variable terms on one side, and then you collect the number terms on the other, okay? Everything about solving inequalities is exactly the same as when you solve an equation. Here is the only one rule that's different, okay? So you have to remember this. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, the inequality sign is flipped. Now this happens on the very last step, okay? So on step number 5, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality symbol. So now you're going to move to some of the problems that you have in your packet. Turn to the part that says multi-step inequalities, and I'm going to do a few example problems for you. Okay, so first step, simplify the left side. There's nothing to simplify. Second step, simplify the right side. So if this is my inequality that I'm solving, I'm going to simplify the right side by combining the like terms. Okay, next step is to get rid of the multiplication of -3 so that the end's by itself. Now, this is the part that gets really tricky for students. Because we want to get rid of a multiplication of -3, we are dividing by a -3. This is what it looks like when you divide by a negative number. Okay, we're dividing by a negative number on both sides, which means my inequality symbol needs to flip. So I am going to flip this in the other direction. The n stays on this side, and 3 divided by -3 is -1. And now I am going to rewrite this so that the variable is listed first. But what I want you to notice is that the n is on the less than side, right? This little arrow is pointing to the n. So when I rewrite it, I have to rewrite it as n is less than -1. Now, we also have to graph its solution, because when we solve an inequality, there's more than one number that's going to make it true. So we have to color those in on a graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to -1. I'm going to do an open circle. Okay, I'm doing an open circle because -1 is not included in my solution set. This is just n is less than -1. And then all of the numbers that are less than -1 are the numbers that are to the left of -1 on the number line. So this is my solution. The graph is how you show your solution when you're solving inequalities. Okay, let's go ahead and try another one. Okay, so next one, very first step is we want to take our inequality. I'm just going to rewrite it over here so that I have some space. And we want to follow the steps for solving an inequality. So first step, simplify the left side. Next to my parenthesis, notice I have a -6. So I'm going to distribute first, then I'm going to combine like terms. So that would be a -24x, a -36. I also have a -3, and now I'm going to combine my like terms. So -24x and a -39. Now my left side is totally simplified. Now I'm going to check the right side. There's nothing to simplify in the right side, so then I proceed with solving. Okay? When you solve an inequality, you're isolating your variable by using inverse operations. The same exact thing as what you do when you solve an equation. So I'm going to add 39. I'm going to add 39. So -24 times by x equals -72. And now on my very last step, and actually I didn't mean to change this to an equal sign, okay? This is an inequality symbol. So on my very last step, in order to get the x by itself, I need to divide by a -24. Because I am dividing by a negative number, this is what you have to pay careful attention to. Because you're dividing by a negative number, this inequality symbol is going to flip. And so you are going to write this as x is less than 3. Now we need to graph our solution. So we go to 3 on our number line. We're going to have an open circle, and all of the numbers that are less than 3 would be to the left of 3 on our number line. Okay, let's do one more example. Let's do this one right here, okay? Number 17, and then I think you will be ready to do your practice assignment. So, steps for solving an inequality are exactly like the steps for solving an equation. Exactly, except for on the last step, when you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip your inequality symbol. So this is my right side, this is my left side. There's nothing to simplify on my left side, which means I'm going to move to simplifying my right side. So negative 7 times 5n is negative 35n. Negative 7 times negative 6 is a positive 42. Then we still have a negative 6n, and we're not done simplifying yet. We're now going to combine these like terms. So that gives me a negative 41n plus 42 on my right side, and I have a negative 5n plus 6 on my left side. Okay, once I have simplified the left, simplified the right, I now am going to collect my variable terms on one side of the equation. So I'm going to add 41n to both sides, which leaves me with 36n plus 6 is greater than or equal to 42. Okay, now I just solve from there. So I'm going to minus 6 from both sides. 36 times n is greater than or equal to 36. Then we are going to divide by 36, and we get n is greater than or equal to 1. That's my solution. So I'm going to go to 1 on my number line. I'm going to do a closed circle, and the way I know it's a closed circle is because it has this equal to part. And then all of the numbers that are bigger than or equal to 1 are to the right of 1 on the number line. Okay, so that is how you solve inequalities. I now need you to do the practice assignments that are listed in Canvas. Okay, so the first one is you're going to do the Solving Inequalities Alex assignment. The second one is you are going to do the Solving Inequalities Delta Math assignment. Okay, so when I get back on Thursday, you guys are going to be taking your test, okay? So make sure you have your solving equations test review done in Alex. You have to have that done in order to be able to take your test. Also, when I get back on Thursday, I am going to be checking to make sure that you did your video notes on solving inequalities. And then these two practice assignments, they should be done before you leave class today. You're going to do this one first, and then you're going to do this one. And then both of these need to be completed at 100%. That's how you get your practice points for today. Okay, see you soon.